This is an excerpt from Percy Shelley's poem To a Skylark. Like a glowworm, golden, in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden its aerial hue. In terms of emphasis and intonation, I focused on words that seem to feed into the larger theme in the poem having to do with light and the sky and a certain kind of sense of openness or brightness. So glowworm has that sense, golden, scattering, that makes me kind of think of a bright sky. And I think there was some interesting alliteration in the first line, glowworm and golden, and then dell of dew is really beautiful. So I did try to emphasize that, particularly with the D. I think that the way that you pronounce D, kind of pressing your tongue into the back of your teeth, draws you into whatever word you're saying. So that dell of dew is a really beautiful image of kind of a valley laden with dew. In terms of elements of explicación de texte, the prosody of those lines, the way it flows and the meter, again, I think kind of similar themes highlighting a certain warmth and light with the golden, and then unbeholden, again, there's kind of a vastness to that word. The phonetic elements, I touched on that a little bit earlier, but again, that alliteration of glowworm and golden and dell of dew, again, that word scattering is kind of a bright sky full of sunlight, and aerial hue has a similar kind of sense to it. And finally, the lexical is always an element I like to focus on, because I love words and the way that words sound. So, I mean, again, it's similar things. Golden, I think, is such a rich word, really evocative of feeling and color. Scattering is the same way. Kind of makes me think of a bright blue sky, the way that kind of sunlight scatters across the sky. Dell of dew, I talked about that as well. The D thing, and dew is such a beautiful word, so is dell. Yeah, I think reading it aloud just kind of really made me appreciate those elements of the actual sound of the word. That's such a rich part of poetry, and not something you really feel in the same way when you're just reading it on the page. So it was really helpful for me to read it aloud and feel the words in my mouth, and also just the flow of the lines in general.